Hello and welcome to In the Crease. I'm your host, Karl Moeglein, previewing Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals with the Chicago Blackhawks trying to take the cup on the ice of the Boston Bruins tonight. And that game is starting in just half an hour at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time. So just a quick rundown of that game before it gets started. Alright, before I start, just one quick reminder, all the social stuff I have. Follow me personally at Karl_PM, that's on Twitter. In the Crease with Karl Moeglein on Facebook. And with National Sports, the overlying network here, at National Sports 1 on Twitter. SuddenImpact14.wix.com/National Sports, that's the website. And like the page, Facebook.com/Online Sports Radio. That's where you can find us on Facebook. Once again, reminding you, In the Crease with Karl Moeglein on Facebook, that's where you can get all the updates. Win shows are going to happen, things like that. I always post every podcast after it happens, so just looking there, that's always a great thing to do. Alright, going in tonight, this is Game 6, which means that with the Chicago Blackhawks up 3-2, if they take this game, that will be it, and this series will end in 6 after the game. Bruins win, then on Wednesday we will have a Game 7 back in Chicago. Alright, a few things to look at. First of all, on Corey Crawford, the Blackhawks goaltender, he's the piece I see as the weakest on this team. And I think if the Bruins do certain things, they can figure out how to exploit this. Alright, basically, Corey Crawford has led in 13 goals during the Stanley Cup Finals. 2 of those goals were on the high stick side, which for him is on his right side and high above his blocker. Only 2 goals, which is out of the 13 out of the bet. None have gone in low stick. 0 have gone in his 5-hole. The 5-hole is the spot between the legs, basically. So he hasn't let any in there. He's fine there. On the low glove side, or his left side, he's letting 1 on to the low glove. So basically around his pad area and just 1 there. And then he's letting 10 on the high glove side. This is where I looked for the Boston Bruins to really attack. That's a 10 of 13. That's incredible. That's a very, very high in percentage, and I think if the Bruins try to exploit that, that'll be huge. Last game, they got their goal by having Zdeno Chara just rip one straight up to that corner. If they exploit that, I think they can have a very, very solid game. And Corey Crawford, really, he's really strong low. He's only letting 1 goal the whole Stanley Cup Finals below, low on his pads, which is what a goalie should have. I mean, most goals aren't going to be scored down there, but 1 is incredibly strong. High stick, I don't mind the 2. It's just that 10 high glove that is just killing them. All right, interesting stat on this Bruins team. On the Blackhawks team, when they score 2 goals or more, they've won 15 games out of the 16 times that has happened. So every time they win, that happens. They haven't won any 1-0 yet, which means look for Corey Crawford to only need 1 or 2 goals. He can let in 1 or 2 and they can still win, compared to if Tuukka Rask lets in a lot. If Tuukka Rask lets in 2 or 3, it's going to be much harder for the Bruins to win, just if you follow this trend. Alright, big injury updates. Jonathan Toews is definitely playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. He left last game after he was kind of taken out in the second period, skated a couple times in the third period, never looked good, and ended up watching the end of the game from the bench. He did have a morning skate this morning. He said it was a really good skate, one of the best of his finals so far. And then onto the Bruins side, Patrice Bergeron, a center for the Bruins. He was taken to the hospital after last game, but it was only to be observed, and it looks like he should be playing. Claude Julien, their coach, has said that he expects him to play, and that there's a very good chance he will play. Patrice Bergeron is a very key player on that team, one of the players who has scored many key goals, and it's going to be hard without him for them in this game, but both those players, Toews and Bergeron, look to be back without a doubt, and that is very, very key for both of those teams. Alright, going into this game is held in Boston, which is a big thing for the Bruins. They're a better home team so far this season. Looking at them, I mean, currently they have won 14 games already. I mean, in these playoffs, 16 is how many you need to win it all. And both these teams know how to win. They both have cups in the last few years, and most of their rosters are going to have experience in these finals. You look at two captains who both won the cup. Patrick Kane, the captain on the Blackhawks side, he's having a good series, and he's done this before a couple years ago with the Blackhawks. And then on the Bruins side, Zdeno Chara, their big, strong defenseman, and he's a great player, scored the goal last game, captain on this team, and when the Bruins won it 2 years ago, he was the captain on that team as well. So both these players, both these captains, know what it's like, and these teams have experienced rosters. I look for experience not to be an issue, as most of the time in a Stanley Cup Finals, you expect certain players with more experience to do better. Players who've been there before, players who have won the Cup, often do better. This year, it's pretty even, as both teams have fairly experienced players, and both goalies have never been here. All right, going into the goalies for the Bruins, Tuukka Rask is their goalie, and he's having an outstanding series. All right, he has better stats than Corey Crawford, and he has an identical goals against average through the playoffs, 1.93, I believe, and that's a very, very good percentage. It means that both those goalies are both letting in right under 2 goals a game, which is almost always enough to win, or at least enough to force overtime. So 2 goals a game it's a good average. You know, you're looking at how many shots. If say an average NHL goaltender gets about 30 to 35 shots a game, then he's letting in, and if you only let in say 2 goals per 30 shots, it's only 1 out of 15 shots. Which goes into a point of, if a goalie only stopped half his shots, he'd be benched immediately. It's just something in the way of goaltenders. They really have to be perfect on most shots. And you look at that goals against average. That goals against average would have been, it's right at where both these goalies were in the regular season. Corey Crawford was at the point of 1.94, so almost exactly. Tuukka Rask at 2 goals against average. So these are both goalies that know what they're doing, and both have these normal goals against average. Of course, those 2 goalies were 2 and 4 in goals against average. Also tied with Corey Crawford for number 2 on this list, Ray Emery, who was the backup now for Chicago, but him and Corey Crawford had split time, and those are both players who. So if Chicago does lose Corey Crawford, they're in fine hands. I worry a little more about the Bruins with a with goalie who's less known in Khudobin. We're gonna go with that. It's not as great of a backup situation. So if Corey Crawford does have to get out, Ray Emery's a great backup, and they can be completely fine on it. But again, both of these goaltenders are outstanding goaltenders. They have been all postseason. And you look at Tuukka Rask, he completely shut down a Penguins offense that had been really incredible throughout the season and the playoffs, and it shows with his .941 save percentage. That is absolutely outstanding. It's incredible to have that high of a save percentage when you think about it. He is if he gets 10 shots, he's saving 9.3 of them, or 9.4, excuse me. So if he had 100 shots on him, he'd only let in 6 goals. That's outstanding. It shows what a great goaltender he is. And coming into this situation, of course, after Tim Thomas left in the offseason, he said he needed a year off, and now his rights have been traded away to the New York Islanders, showing how much these Bruins believe in Tuukka Rask. They were tired of how Tim Thomas, he's taken a couple breaks, he's had some issues with personal life, and he, of course, had some issues with the politics in this country. But Tuukka Rask has really come into this spot and shown why he is a great goaltender. You look at him, and I think the Bruins made a good choice trading away the rights of Tim Thomas, and now they really have their trust in this Finnish goaltender. Of course, he was drafted back in 2005, so that's already 8 years ago, and he was picked originally by Toronto, but now he's made his way over to the Bruins through a few things, and he's had a great season overall. He almost had a Vezina nomination, not quite, because he wasn't quite up there, but he's He's had a great total so far. I look at him to be the key for these Bruins, really. I mean, last game, he let in 2 goals. One of them really wasn't his fault. It was a weird bounce. The other was so-and-so. I didn't love it, but, it's fine. But, of course, and he has been with the Bruins since the 07-08 season, and maybe before that. Looking at the stats, he played 4 games in the 07-08, 1 game in 08-09, and this is his first year really starting. He played about half the season in 09-10, so a few years ago, but this is his first full year starting, and of course it was this half year which we had in the NHL, and of course, very interesting things to know about this season. They've had incredible ratings after the lockout, which is something many thought wouldn't have happened after a lockout, but it has, and the ratings for the Stanley Cup Finals have been doing much better than most series. They had the most watched Stanley Cup Finals through 4 games. That is incredible. They've just been having an outstanding year for the NHL, especially because commonly hockey doesn't get a lot of viewers, but they had the most viewed hockey game on NBC Sports. On NBC Sports Network ever. So that shows how big they were, and it just looks like the NHL really is starting to gain viewership. Of course, they come up during this, but they had 3.84 million viewers in their last game in the 8 to 8:30 slot. Then it picked up to 5.12. You look at these viewers, and by those late spots, by 10 to 10:30, 10:30 to 11, after 10:30, they had a 6.51 million viewers. That's 6.5, and they just keep picking up viewers as games start, and they just are skyrocketing compared to 3 million viewers for the baseball games that are on, or all these TV shows. It just shows, if you look at every time slot, the top thing was the Stanley Cup Finals when they had their last game, and so you look at for this game today, and it looks like the Stanley Cup Finals is finally getting some good viewers. You look at that, and hockey's gaining coverage. I was looking at some attendance things lately. There's more people who go to NHL games, and more stadiums are more filled than at NBA games right now. So it's showing how hockey's getting more and more popular, and it's great to see that. And going into TD Garden tonight for the Bruins, that big fan base they have and that sellout crowd is going to be absolutely huge. Yep, it looks like that will be a key factor for them as they try to take this out. And looking into this game, I personally am still picking the Boston Bruins, as I still think the Boston Bruins are going to win this finals. But you look at players like Jaromir Jagr, who I've talked about multiple times before, and David Krejci, who's having outstanding playoffs, and many people aren't even noticing it. I believe he's the top scorer in the playoffs currently. Nathan Horton, his line mate, is having an incredible playoffs as well. This team has a lot of unsung heroes, basically. And of course, then they have their Jaromir Jagrs. They have Tuukka Rask. They have Zdeno Chara. And I love Zdeno Chara. He has the fastest shot in the NHL. He's held that title for a long time now. He is the best. He is one of the best defensemen in the world, if not the best defenseman in the world. I look at him as one of the reasons last series they swept the Penguins. Him and Tuukka Rask were probably the 2 main reasons they won that, because Zdeno Chara just shut down Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. He's one of the few players in the world who could really do that, and he comes from Slovakia, which is it's a smaller hockey area, but he does have a few great players out of there, and it shows. I mean, I believe he's 6'11" on skates, I believe it is. He's 6'11" on skates, and then he's 6'9" without them. He's a big man, and I personally would hate to come up to that. You're coming skating up ice, and you're going, incredibly fast, exceeding 20 miles per hour at times if somebody's really sprinting, some of these NHL skaters, and they come up on him, and it's like hitting a wall, really. I mean, Zdeno Chara at 6'9", he's the tallest player ever to play in the NHL. He's 255 pounds. That is incredible. incredible height and size, and I imagine if you ran into him, you're gonna hit him and kind of just get bounced off. He was picked 56th overall back in '96, and he was born in Czechoslovakia. So back when those two were together, he grew up in that. But he has, of course, he's been in the league a while. He played, if you think about it, he got drafted in '96, and he got traded to the Senators in the 2001 draft, and he just had a great career. He first game in the NHL was in the '97 season. He started out in the WHL with the Prince George Cougars, then went through the AHL and the NHL, and kind of bounced a little bit. 2001, his first season ever playing 82 games was 2001. Before that, he played a couple seasons with 60-some games. And, you look at him, and his career continues to be great. He played every single game that was played this year. He never misses more than a few games. The last season where he didn't play 70 games, except for this season, because of the lockout, you have to go back all the way back to that 1999-2000 season. He always is there. He played 71 one year, but he really has been healthy, and he's been the biggest part of this Boston Bruins team since he came there in 06-07. He's part of this Boston Bruins defense that is paired up with Dennis Seidenberg, Johnny Boychuk behind them, Matt Bertowski behind them. They've got a good defensive unit. Tuukka Rask has a very, very high percentage chance of winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. I'd say if the Blackhawks win tonight, I think it could be Patrick Kane or Corey Crawford. But if the Bruins win tonight, and even if they lose in Game 7, I think Tuukka Rask has a standing chance of winning this. Of course, this is 10 years after Jean-Sebastien Giguère won his Conn Smythe Trophy after losing in the finals. It just shows that sometimes, you're the best player on the ice. Tuukka Rask, I believe, has been the best player on the ice. He's been the best goalie these playoffs, and I look next year for him to have a breakout year in the NHL, because, this year he had a good season, but it wasn't supremely recognized, but it's been incredible for Tuukka Rask, and I think Tuukka Rask and Zdeno Chara, Jaromir Jagr, Patrice Bergeron, looking onto the third line, Daniel Paille, player I love, Tyler Seguin, Chris Kelly on that third line, hardworking guy. Those are some of the reasons I love this Boston Bruin team. I think they're going to win the Cup. And, of course, the game puck drops in 12 minutes, so I'm going to leave everybody to go watch that. I will have the post-game coverage, of course, after that. Follow me at Karl_PM on Twitter. In the Crease with Karl Moeglein on Facebook. At National Sports 1. Sudden Impact 14.wix.com/National Sports. Facebook.com/Online Sports Radio. Like us on Facebook. You know that. Please keep viewing. Subscribe to the channel. Listen to other shows. And I will be back around 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern, or whenever the game ends. We will see. But I will be back then to give you post-game coverage. And we will see if we have a Stanley Cup champion crowned. Thank you.